Hello everyone and welcome back to the second PolyTitans showcase game. I'm Chris and I will be talking you through a game between Viking, who is going to be our Luxador player in the south, and Yeti, who is our Hoodrick player in the north. Both are top live game players. Thus far, this matchup in the tournament, as you may have seen if you have watched Justini's videos, was showing Hoodrick to be strongly favored, but as we will see, Luxador is in some cases equally explosive. Without further ado, let's jump right into the game, get some live commentary going. Looks like strong capital resources for Viking, but Yeti going to be expanding towards the center. Gonna find a nice second city that also has water access and some nice animals. I'm definitely already seeing some potential markets for Yeti in this position, so gotta be feeling good if you're playing Hoodrick here. Sees another ruin and gonna have a fourth city, easily accessible. The mountains looking a little bit rough for Viking, but not the end of the world. Still has expansion options, and there's a ruin as well. And looks like Viking is teching into forestry, so we're probably going to see a similar sort of playstyle from both players, going for forestry early, mathematics markets. That's kind of what you want to be doing, especially if you're Luxador. You don't really have a chance in the late game without those markets. Star Ruin for Yeti is going to be huge, going to allow really, really early mathematics in the position, as well as all those free upgrades. It's really nice. And a population ruin on the other side, guys. These are perfect early game ruins for these tribes. Going to allow the super early giants turn 6 and no lighthouses. So really, really fast for Luxador. Going to allow that second giant coming out in the East City. And now we're going to see mathematics immediately from Yeti, recognizing the power of those markets, going to be setting up those spots most likely. And now we have also a really, really nice sawmill spot for Luxador. Population ruin, my goodness. So we have seen a star ruin and a population ruin for Hoodrick by turn 8, and now we're going to see those effects in full. Going to grab this border growth in the capital, and that is going to beef up the market spot, right? We've got those really, really nice shared market spots that are going to come down right here. And then also allow for the early giant, going to be able to place the monument as well for the second giant. Excellent start for Yeti. And I think probably a similarly excellent start for Viking, looking at this really, really beautiful sawmill spot in the East City and expanding quite quickly. And it looks like Viking might be able to just steal, oh, and another village right here. That is perfect. I mean, we saw the animal indicator early, but that is a really, really good village to get later on in the game, going to maybe enable some more market spots or just potentially that Grand Bazaar, right? Both players going to want to try to get Grand Bazaar if they can, because they will be getting markets, they will have roads. There are still some ruins left to claim, so really this early game, I wouldn't say it's favoring either player just yet, but it is looking like Viking is going to secure the city advantage early, which is excellent. It's what you need against Hoodrick, who is going to be a markets juggernaut going into mid-teens in terms of turns. And Yeti gonna get in the water early with fishing. I do like that, right? Vikings water access, Yeti doesn't know this yet, but Vikings water access isn't the best, honestly. So Yeti may be able to get some initiative there, but trade. We saw riding in roads earlier, pre-capture, and I'm just now mentioning trade because it is coming down. Going to chop once to get the second market. That is 12 stars per turn on turn 11. So Yeti's stars per turn is going to explode over the next couple of turns, and that is probably going to give Yeti a snowballing advantage into the mid game. And oh, we see 3 catapults from Viking. I really like this. It's going to make a really rock solid defense of that central city that is otherwise quite weak. It's the choke point in the position. Knights can come through there. Viking has some really interesting and convenient water access and really lovely bridge play. Recognizes there's probably a city here, and sure enough is going to get that water city. That's going to give some more cities to train naval units from. Additionally, we're probably going to see this later in the game, but I'm seeing this bridge spot right near this mountain, and that bridge spot is going to be absolutely crucial to attack over land unless Yeti can do something about it. And now we see trade coming in for Luxador a little later, right? 2 turns later than Hoodrick. And this is kind of expected in the matchup, but sometimes Luxador doesn't even get to trade. So Yeti getting to, or Viking getting to trade here is crucial. And the Giants are going in. I don't know if I agree with this play, but it is going to buy Viking some time, so it is respectable. Absolutely a reasonable decision to make in the position. The Giants might get a little caught out here in a second when they walk into those catapults. A Viking doesn't yet have vision of that, but for the moment they are going to create some problems for Yeti, who is going to have to answer them. And Yeti just decides to back up. Yeti says, I've got the catapults loaded in the back. There's nothing I need to worry about from these Giants quite yet. And so Viking is going to take some space that way, and so that play does end up paying off in some respects, giving Viking a little bit better control over the center. And now we're seeing this level 4 sawmill coming down for Viking. That is going to allow for 2 more level 4 markets. Excellent stuff. Getting up to 44 stars per turn. Not quite equaling Hoodrick, but getting close. And that is kind of where you want to be as Luxador. You're probably not going to have higher stars per turn, right? Look at these disgusting market spots. I didn't even mention the 2 level 7 market spots. It was kind of implied, but getting close is where you want to be as Luxador. If you can get close and you have the city advantage, you can still train units everywhere. And now we are going to see an explorer. I should mention right now, I didn't mention this at the beginning of the video, but these are not the new explorers. These are the old explorers. We've seen some kind of poor explorers from both players thus far, as in the explorers themselves were not very good. And so if you were wondering why that is, these are the old explorers. The new explorers obviously a little bit better. And so now we are seeing an attack in the east and in the west coming in from Yeti, using that initiative from those early Giants with the sawmills to get on the water and apply some pressure to cities that Viking doesn't quite have locked down yet. And this is pretty scary, right? 2 Giants walking in, the catapults are there, the supporting units are there as well, but these Giants are just going to be allowed to kind of chill in the position, at least until Viking can really expel them. Nice bridge placement from Viking. Let's go back for a second and look at this. Viking recognizing this Giant needs to get out, and so there it is. Bridge coming down, going to allow the Giant to not only get out, but also box in these 2 Giants from Yeti, who are looking a little silly now. Oh, and misses the last lighthouse. Viking would have loved Eye of God there, but does not get it. And so now we are going to see neither player getting Eye of God in this position. Viking obviously had the better chance of getting it, Yeti already having exhausted those explorers. Now we are seeing chivalry from Yeti, looking for knights, looking for a way into the position. The catapults obviously the problem here, so what better way to deal with them than knights? And Viking's just going to throw away some support units, you know? Get rid of those 2 Giants, really lock down that west side, prevent any immediate attacks coming in from Yeti, and that is crucial here in allowing Viking to stabilize, because Viking is, believe it or not, still on the back foot, still needing to train catapults, train defensive units. Meanwhile, Yeti can apply pressure, and I didn't mention this last turn, but the Cloaks are coming in from Yeti. And why go Cloaks? Guys, Cloaks are a very strong late game unit, especially in a position like this where most of the avenues of attack are closed off. Let's look at this center right here. Viking trying to defend the center by blocking off the choke point with a Giant and having catapults behind it. There's no way Knights are really going to break that unless you misplay. So how do we get around that? We train Cloaks. Yeti has this water access on both sides of the map that is relatively uncontested right now by Viking, and so he can train Cloaks and send them into the water. And this is how the progress is going to get made. It's going to get made incrementally by Yeti, using this technique of getting Cloaks and eventually sending them towards cities and stealing stars. Because although the players are on relatively even footing, oh, beautiful veteran from Viking, love healing that catapult to full HP. That is excellent. And now this Juggernaut is getting chipped away by the Riders. excellent way to defend from land against incoming naval units is having those riders stored up, and that is why Viking has a diverse army composition: catapults, riders, and knights able to defend in several different ways, but Yeti is not deterred, spamming cloaks, getting cloaks on both sides of the map, getting upgrades, despite that, having the stars to basically afford anything he wants, and the cloaks are just going to keep coming. And as we're seeing, Viking is kind of forced to not really level up the edge cities, because if he does that right away, then those cities become prime cloak targets. So Yeti is kind of keeping his border cities lower level just to avoid Viking is keeping his cities lower level to avoid giving Yeti too much cloak value. And now Yeti has bombers. Notice, landed the cloak on this tile. As we mentioned in the last video, cloaks landing on these tiles can be seen by the other player. This, I'm not sure if it's a bug or if it is an intended feature, but there is a small particle effect, and so Viking will know the cloak is there, and sure enough, here comes the reveal, here comes the kill. That cloak is not going anywhere. Yeti tried it, going to probably try it several more times this game, and as we're seeing, Viking is going to take this opportunity to try to get in the water in the east. Has that nice city with water access, can place bridges, and as we see, destroy them. I should have highlighted this earlier, but notice there was a bridge here before, and that bridge got destroyed, shutting off the land-based attack into this border growth city for Yeti, and that is clutch. Viking making excellent use of chivalry, able to make bridges and then on the same turn destroy them, opening up lanes of attack that only he can use. That is something that we don't often see. Very nicely done from Viking. And now we are seeing the knights coming through, but I'm not sure about this bridge staying there. That bridge can't get destroyed later. And despite the attack in the east for Yeti not exactly making very much progress, Viking is forced to get a wall there and then sacrifice some units. So Viking not exactly in the strongest position, despite being up cities, despite having all of these banked units. Yeti is able to do pretty much whatever he wants, and there's the knight coming in to kill the catapult, and that is not what you like to see. That is why we wanted to destroy those bridges, because it closes off lanes of attack that our opponent wants to use, and now Yeti's able to use it, continuing to eco up. But Viking, oh my goodness, Yeti blunders a chain, and Viking's able to get a knight through, 2 knights through. That is a massive chain going to go straight into the heart of the position. And now we might see another, yes we do, another bridge coming down for Viking, and that is going to open up another chain. Doesn't quite get the micro down properly, but is still able to get a hit on that bomber. And now Vikings created some space. Look at this space. Train some archers. This bomber is going down. These units are still a problem, but Viking has opened up the center of the map, can now try to push forward with these catapults, has banked knights saved up that can attack these giants. This zone of control, if it goes away, is going to cause so many problems for Yeti, who desperately wants to be training cloaks every turn and not have to worry about a land-based attack. And so now we're seeing Yeti gonna have to scramble just a little bit to ward off this attack from Viking. But Yeti has 64 stars per turn, and the cloaks are landing, so he is filthy rich, and that is why we were seeing Yeti calmly upgrading his cities despite this attack coming in from Viking. Also didn't spend a lot of stars last turn. I'm expecting Emperor's Tomb for Yeti. Viking, though, training defenders, and now going to potentially be able to make a push into the water with said defenders. Obviously, defenders the most efficient naval unit, 15 HP. But Yeti's got bombers. Yeti has multiple bombers, completely uncontested in the water in the west, and they are going to prove to be a huge problem for Viking, who wants to get in the water on that side but doesn't have the HP, doesn't have the giants, can basically only defend and do his best that way, and use these very, very safe ports deep in his position to put more units into the water. Going to try to get something done on the east side. That knight is sneaking over there. Beautiful veteran. Again, Yeti's vet assignment, his ability to put kills on the right units is impeccable. Viking is able to get this veteran rider here, healing it up all the way to 15 HP. That is absolutely massive, giving him another defensive unit to work with that can help clear out those daggers, right? Especially with those defense bonuses. Hudrick getting that basically instantly because they have archery. Don't need to worry about researching that tech prior to landing cloaks. And now we're seeing 2 more cloaks coming in on the west side, and even more cloaks in the water for Yeti. And is this going to be the opening that Viking needed? Here is 1 kill, destroys the bridge right afterwards. Maybe was looking to chain into the city, but there was nothing there. Yeti recognizing the threat, but able to clear out more of the zone of control. 2 giants standing between Viking and breaking through in the center, able to create lots of space with this catapult sitting safely behind the city. Juggernaut also wanting to enter the fray, but the bombers saying no for now. And now Yeti is going to find a beautiful chain in the middle, going to be able to vet that knight so that it stays alive after it hits the giant. And here come the cloaks. Viking getting this border growth earlier, but it doesn't really stop Yeti. In fact, it helps him. These cloaks are now generating more daggers and in more inconvenient places. Going to try to push back in the center is Yeti, but Viking can clear out the zone of control here. Would be a huge splash to kill this cloak, and maybe Viking is going to go for it. And ladies and gentlemen, I think we are seeing Viking trying to capitalize on Yeti, leaving open this nice splash onto the cloak. And yes, despite the giant going to get peppered down by the bombers, this is still a lot of value. It's slowing down the cloak engine from Yeti, which is currently ripping apart Viking stars per turn and the position. Able to make progress in the east because there's very little Viking can do to contest this east water. All these catapults super duper safe right now. And so Yeti is able to hang on to water control in the east, force Viking to make a play like this. Super committal. This giant is now deep in the position. Really not going to have an easy time getting out. And this other juggernaut is getting ripped apart by these catapults, which are forced to stay put in order to pepper down that juggernaut down to 21 HP in just 1 turn. Cloak coming in on the left side as well. We are seeing sort of a stalemate late game battle, but I think that Yeti is making consistent progress. Beautiful directing this catapult push. Otherwise it would have gone either west or northwest. The riders block. Here the catapult gets pushed, and now we can unsiege this very, very easily. Don't need to commit too many units to it. The juggernaut can retreat, hopefully heal up, and this giant is going to get hit by a catapult as well. So Viking able to slap back a little bit there, but this cloak did not die. Crucially, Viking did not have enough units, did not have the time to find this cloak, and so now it's not just 1 cloak coming in on that side. It is going to be 2 into 2 border growth cities. That is 8 daggers. That is a ton of stars stolen. And now Yeti can try to claim these starfish, which have remained yet unclaimed. That is 16 more stars. Not like Yeti needs them. He's got 154. But it doesn't hurt, especially when now Yeti is going aquatism, going construction, going to place the Emperor's Tomb finally, and able to get another giant. Construction is going to be that late game push. We've seen the giants getting slowly whittled down for both sides having massive armies that they're kind of maneuvering around, and the giants are just going to get shredded if they walk into the position. But this is the second win for Yeti. Construction is going to allow more giants, going to allow pushes in places where the push has stagnated, and that is what we are seeing on the east side, because Viking is going to be able to unsiege this and finding an absolutely gorgeous chain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into the rammer as well. And take a look at this. Yeti had this super rock solid defense turned offense catapults looking at the walled city, and now it's gone. Now there is almost no units defending on the east side. Maybe progress can be made for Viking there. That is an opportunity he will not pass up. Also looking at getting a giant. The monuments finally come down. Viking realizing that Yeti is not going to fall for any Houdini plays, and so we are going to see the giant there just to make sure that that city's not getting sieged. But oh my goodness, counter chain. Look at this. This 21 HP giant linking together the catapults with this knight that had to hit earlier. And now we're seeing Yeti clapping right back with this chain that is going to rip apart the center defense for Viking, who was really hoping that he could hang on to this pressure in the center, force these giants back, start to make progress, maybe go Cloaks himself. Another catapult falls. It's turn 29, and Viking, despite being up cities, is losing to Yeti, who, using that early market income, is able to not only stabilize from the early attack, but also push, also create problems on both sides of the map. And despite this strong chain from Viking the previous turn, Yeti shrugs it off. Here is construction. Here is smithery. Viking is going to be crushed under the weight of Yeti's stars per turn and the stolen stars from these cloaks, as Yeti is researching every single tech in the tech tree to get more giants, to create even more problems for Viking. But Viking is not done. 66 stars per turn and still a lot to save, to show for himself in the position, able to continue to pepper away at the rafts, continue to train knights, maybe falling a little bit behind in unit count is Viking, but this is aggressive. This is aggressive from Yeti. This giant is going in, and I think there may be a Houdini potential here depending on how this next turn progresses. 2 juggernauts in the water for Viking. Not all hope is lost, but here's the giant to shut down any hope of that sword getting a siege. And Yeti is going to take his time getting even more giants. You were seeing him setting up another giant, and here comes what I believe to be a Houdini. Yes! Viking able to Houdini Yeti, who wisely avoided it before, wisely recognized that Viking was hanging on to the monuments, but Viking does not need them for this Houdini. And able to shut down that pressure coming in on the west side. But all these units clumped up are perfect bomber food. Look at that bomber. Gonna have a field day, hitting 8 units. Oh my goodness. But chooses not to. Chooses not to. Doesn't want to give up the bomber. Doesn't want to give up that investment. And so instead gonna play safe. Gonna play conservative. Going into the center because the catapults were killed earlier, creating that much more pressure. And now, even though this giant may not even need to walk into the city, it sitting there is enough to force Viking to make a choice. And Viking chooses to resign. Turn 31. What a game. Viking playing his absolute heart out. Houdinis, directed pushes, able to keep up with Hoodrick's star per turn, able to use chivalry to destroy bridges, recreate them, beautiful chains that way. But guys, let us not forget, Yeti is also a fantastic player. Not only leveraging that market income, but going Cloaks, able to steal those stars, choosing to cloak the lower leveled cities despite the initial advantage coming in that might come in from cloaking higher level cities, realizes not going to get there. Just cloak the low level cities, and that was enough to generate a huge star imbalance, and that was what we saw. Yeti popping far more giants over the course of the game and able to just continually send them at the opponent. And now we're seeing Viking resigning because look at this attack in the east. Yeti reloaded the gun, and now it is smoking. There are 4 giants coming in, there's another catapult set up, and the rammers are completely uncontested, not to mention the center has been blown open, and so there's not a whole lot Viking can do anymore to deny the city getting sieged every turn. And thus the game is over. Well played to both sides. Hopefully you enjoyed the second showcase game on the channel. If you did, please like the video, and if you want to see more videos like this, subscribe. Have a wonderful day or night wherever it is you guys are at, and I will talk to you later.